Hi, in this video I'm going to show you how to install Fedora ARM 64-bit version on macOS, specifically on MacBook Pro M1 using VirtualBox. So first you need to have Oracle VirtualBox Manager installed. You need to have Oracle VirtualBox installed, and also you need to have downloaded the ISO version of Fedora Workstation, the ARM version. You can see it ends with arc64.iso. So head over to Fedora's website. You can go to getfedora.org and find the ARM version, the ARM 64-bit version, and download it. Once you have that downloaded and VirtualBox installed, you go to the new press new, and we create a new operating system. I'm gonna name it Fedora, and then I'm gonna select the ISO image from the drop down. I press other if it's the first time, and select the ISO image. Type is Linux, subtype Fedora, and the version is Fedora ARM 64-bit. And the next part, unattended install. We don't change anything here. And next, hardware. For the hardware, by default it is using 2 gigabytes of RAM. I'm going to increase this to 3 gigabytes, around 3 gigabytes. And for the processors, I'm going to use at least 4 processors to have a fast install experience. So based on your workload and how busy your host system is, you can change these variables. You can change the amount of RAM and the CPU count. I leave enable EFI as is. It is enabled. And then the next section is hard disk. For the hard disk, we're going to have a virtual hard disk that will have a maximum size of 15 gigabytes. It is fine. By default, it is not allocating the 15 gigabytes on the first boot. It will grow to that size at maximum. So as you install more software on your Fedora installation, the size of your image, the size of your virtual hard disk will grow, and it will go just to the maximum of 15 gigabytes. If you think that 15 gigabyte is not enough, you can increase this to something bigger. So press finish, and we are ready to start booting up our Fedora and start installing. So I press the start button. You can see a window opens for Fedora. So I press the up direction and then the return. We are currently inside our Fedora environment. You can see in our booting Fedora, of course, and I cannot press Command Tab because it is capturing. Sometimes it is captured inside the Fedora, and you cannot use these shortcuts. In order to uncapture and to exit that capture mode, you need to pay attention to this key that is displayed at the bottom right of VirtualBox. This shows that left command button is the button that we use to exit this environment and to be able to use other shortcuts of our system. You can see currently I'm not able to press Alt Tab in other operating system, but Command Tab in the Mac environment. I cannot use it because all the shortcuts are directed to Fedora. In order to exit this, I press the left command. So left command, you can see now I can press the Command Tab combination as usual. Okay, again capture. This is a live environment of Fedora before we install. You may want to try out Fedora before and even without installing it on your system and on your virtual hard disk. So you can use all of these. You can even close this installer. Look at the applications in the live environment. These are the applications. We can even make changes to these applications. We can uh, even go to terminal, for example, run some commands, install some applications. But remember, if you exit the environment, all the changes will be lost because this is a live environment, which means a live desktop that you can use just as almost the same as a normal desktop, but every change that is made to that system will get lost after you exit the environment. So after you feel comfortable with installation and is starting the installation, you can press the application overview. And by the way, the application overview on other systems is opened using the Windows button. However, we don't have a Windows button on a MacBook. This is a MacBook Pro M1 that I'm using. So instead, uh, I press the right command button. So the right command button instead acts as the Windows button for this environment, or the super button. They call it the super button in Linux desktop. So I press it, and then I press this installer. I open the installer app. We wait for the installer to come up. It's taking some time to run and launch because it's probably doing some heavy tasks behind the scenes. Okay, it started. Let's increase the window size, the display size, virtual screen. You can see the size is actually set to 1280 by 800, but we can scale it up to 125, for example, which I believe you will like it more. So the language is English. I press next, and we will use the entire hard disk, which is around 16 gigabytes. VBox hard disk. I press next. No encryption, so leave it as is. Next. And the storage layout that has been created is like this. This has been created automatically by the installer. You can get a copy of this and probably get a screen of this for your own manual installations. This is the recommended approach uh, on EFI systems. We have a partition for boot EFI with the size of around 500 megabytes, and a boot partition with the size of 1 gigabyte, and two partitions, root and home, both with the size of 15 gigabytes, around 15 gigabytes. And by the way, the type is BTRFS subvolume for these two. And for the EFI, it's EFI. For boot, it is XT4. But you don't need to worry about this here because it is automatically selected and applied by Fedora installer. I press erase data and install. The installation starts, and now because it's going to take a while for the installation, I'm going to pause the video and we will resume the video after the installation completes. Okay, you can see that we are almost done installing Fedora on VirtualBox on MacBook Pro M1. So the software installation and the storage configuration has been done, and we are performing system configuration currently, installing bootloader and then it will be finalized. There we go, system configuration finished and finalizing. Generating init RAM fs. Okay, the installation is finished, successfully installed. We can exit to live desktop now. But know that this is still the desktop, the live desktop environment. It is not the installed version. So in order to enter the installed version of Fedora, we press this button, the power button, and then I press the power button again and press restart to exit this environment and reboot the system, the virtual system, of course, and initialize Fedora. Press restart. Okay, this is the VirtualBox boot option, the boot menu. It's booting up and entering Fedora. Because it a single boot system, it only has Fedora. We don't see a boot menu, and we directly enter Fedora. And now this is the initialization wizard of Fedora. We select language. English is fine. Next. For typing, I also have a secondary language, Persian. So I select that. Oh, what did I do? Persian. Oh, first, oh, there's a glitch. Persian. You press the three dots and then search for Persian or your language. And I select this variant. Press next. Location services, I set it as off because I don't like apps to track my location. And automatic problem reporting, I leave it on because it will probably help application maintainers to create better experience for apps. And next. By the way, we have two command buttons on our MacBook. The left one is the one that we use to exit the virtual desktop and be able to use our host keyboard combinations, keyboard shortcuts. But the right one allows us to open the overview. So if I press the right command, it is not enabled yet because we haven't initialized our Fedora completely. So here, set the time zone for your system. I set the time zone for example, let's change this. Why did it change to Persian? New York. Or the one that I usually use, Tehran, and press next. And at this step, we enable third-party repositories. This is very important. If you don't enable this, you won't be able to install Google Chrome. So enable it. There are some other applications that are also installed by enabling this. Can be installed, of course. And press next. Okay, the system is a bit frozen. I don't know why this happens. This is probably a bug with the initializer wizard for Fedora because I have a previous experience. On the first initialization attempt, this happens on this step, at this step. But if you try it for a second time, after you reboot your system once again and enter this initialization, this will not be a problem. This freezing will not happen. So I can see it's not working. I have to force quit, and I have to reboot the system. Because the reboot is not available here, I can go to the VirtualBox window, and from here I have to power it off and start it again. You can see this time we were able to see the boot menu. Okay, again the initialization is gonna pop up, and the language is English. Next, the typing Persian is enabled already as the second keyboard layout. I press next. Location services off. Next, set the time zone. Sorry. Next, enable third-party repositories. Next, you see that we didn't have the freezing this time, as I mentioned earlier. And I enter my name, my full name, and the username, leave it as McD. Next, there's a glitch that causes this audio to be heard, but it's probably fine. I set a password for my account. I use a very simple password, but you can use a harder password. I prefer a simple one because I tend to use this password a lot and it's needed a lot in my Linux environment. What is this audio coming? Start using. Okay, it's gone. All right, we are ready to use our Fedora system. But before I wrap up this video, I'm gonna show you an overview of what Fedora looks like in this virtual environment, of course. So take tour. We're gonna take a tour of the desktop environment we have. If I press next, you see an overview. If you want to see an overview, because we are on a Mac, most of the shortcuts shown here will not work usually. They are probably different or unavailable because we are in a virtual environment, in a virtual desktop. And the shortcuts that we use, for example, here, if you use 4 fingers, it's going to open the Mac overview, the Mac apps overview, and it's not going to show the apps overview for Linux. Okay, next. There's a powerful search in GNOME environment. And we have workspaces. Workspaces refer to different desktops that you have in your GNOME environment. For example, this allows you to have different applications running on different desktops, on different workspaces. For example, you can have media player playing in one workspace, and you can have media editing and photo editing applications running in the other. You can have video recording desktop running on the other desktop. This will allow you to have an organized desktop and have a tight experience. And we have the swipe up and down gestures. Again, if I press the three buttons, it will invoke the Apple ones, and it will open the apps overview for Apple, because I'm on an Apple machine. And looks like probably Fedora, GNOME Desktop has copied some Apple shortcuts, because everybody loves Apple products and Apple experiences and Apple desktops. So this gesture is exactly like what Apple does and how Apple works. And again, if you use the same gesture, the three finger gesture, and swipe your fingers to the left or right, you will be able to switch between workspaces and desktops. This is again exactly like what Apple does and what Apple uses. So this is another copy, for example. Probably this is another thing that GNOME has copied from Apple, or Apple copied from GNOME, which I don't think is correct. Probably the first assumption is more correct. Okay, now our Fedora has been initialized. Let me show you the product information. Go to the About section. By the way, if you press the right command button, it will open the overview like this. And the search is also enabled at this time. You can now search for an application, for example, About, which will show the system specification, the system properties. The device name has been set as VBox by the installer, which is fine. Operating system name is this. You can change it. The processor is unknown to our operating system, which is also fine. The memory is what we set. And the disk capacity is also what we allocated. System details, we can see more information. The windowing system is Wayland, which is a modern windowing system for Linux environments. Our GNOME version is seen here, the kernel version that we are using, and things like that. You can also look at other sections and acquaint yourself with others. But before I finish it, there's an important thing. How do you connect from this desktop, from this virtual Fedora environment, to your host machine? How do you ping it? And how do you ping this virtual Fedora from that host machine, which is Mac? So let me open the terminal and see what is my IP address. With ifconfig, I can see that my IP address is 10.02.15. So 10.02.15, remember this? And now I'm gonna switch to the Mac terminal and ping this 10.02.15. You can see I'm not able to connect to it because these two networks are different and are using different subnets. How do I connect between these two and ping each other? How do I enable pinging each other? So here's a setting for network settings. By default, the type of the network adapter is NAT, which allows different subnets to be used. It is using different subnets. This allows us, for example, to connect to the internet, but we will not be able to see the other network, the host network. In order to be able to do that, I changed this to bridge adapter, to bridge the adapter. This will allow me to use my virtual desktop with the same network address that is used by the host system. So I press OK, and it is applied on the fly to the running operating system. But inside the operating system, you need to look, change apparently applied, ifconfig. You can see that the new address has been added here, and it is visible. 192, 168, 215, 217, 116. So let me 217, 116. Let me see if I can now ping it from my Mac. So 192, 168, 217, 116. There we go. We are able to ping it. Let's find the IP address of our Mac, which is 192, 162, 168, 217, 158. 217, 158. Let's see if we can ping it. Ping 217, 158. There we go. We are able to connect similarly from our virtual host, from our virtual environment to our outside host. So this is very important. This will allow you to do simple development tasks, connect to your running VirtualBox instance, and do development tasks and things like that without ever having to open the VirtualBox environment, its window, and directly typing into your virtual desktop environment. Also, how do we SSH? The next thing you might ask, how do we SSH into, and how do we connect to our virtual Fedora that is running in VirtualBox? So for that, you can enable the SSHD service inside Fedora, or you can go to the settings. Even about is good. Let's go to system, and in the system section we have secure shell, which refers to SSH. I enable it with this. I enter my password, and I should now be able to SSH into my system from the host. So connect to our Fedora with SSH. My username is this, and 217, 116. You can see it is able to see that and send the SSH request. I press yes because I trust the key. Yes, and I enter the password for the Fedora system that I have specified inside Fedora, and there we go. I'm inside Fedora now. Without directly typing into Fedora shell, I'm able to connect from my Mac host into Fedora and do things that I want. I can even change to admin and do management operations, like, for example, installing software and things like that. So how do we even make this more convenient? Let me show you how you can, with the help of VirtualBox, you have the option of starting a VirtualBox in the background. So you don't have to start a virtual machine in the foreground and have to swipe it around and move around the window. You can run it in the background without ever seeing a window. So how do we do that? First, let's close this. Send the shutdown signal. Why is it still running? Come on, power off. Maybe this is a bug, or I need to wait more. Okay, how do I run it in the background? You have the option of running it in the background with this headless start, which will run it in the background. But I will show you how to do that in the terminal. So with VirtualBox installed, we have an application called VBox Manage. VBox Manage, which is not available in my terminal because I have installed the graphical version from Oracle website. So I need to go to the applications folder, VirtualBox, and here in the contents, let me see, Mac OS. Okay, now I find VBox Manage. Okay, it's here. I can start a virtual machine here with start VM, and then specify the name of the VirtualBox, which is Fedora, and then pass it the headless flag with this. Okay, it has changed. The format of the command has changed. Start VM type headless. We specify it like this. You can see it is starting. VM Fedora has been successfully started, and to make sure that it has started running, we can switch to Oracle VirtualBox Manager, and there we go. It is running. It is starting currently. And to show the window, even we have the option of seeing the window with show. There we go. So we can hide it, show it. We have that option. But for the situations that you don't need to interact with the graphical UI, you can just start it headless like this. Continue running in the background, and even don't open VirtualBox. It is running. And to ensure that it is running, VBox Manage again. Manage list running VMs. You can see it is running. So let's SSH into the system again. Come on, where is SSH? I don't specify the port. The default port is fine. 192.168. What was the IP address? 217.116. Yes. I enter my password and I enter the virtual machine. Now I can do whatever I want because I also have the sudo option, the sudo capabilities, so I can just run sudo dnf, for example, update, and things like that, which are considered system commands. So that's it. So that's it for this video. In this video, you learned how to install Fedora ARM 64-bit version on VirtualBox on a MacBook Pro M1, and you also learned some stuff about working with Fedora. You learned how to connect to Fedora inside VirtualBox, and how to change its adapter type, the network type, and you also learned how to start a virtual machine headless, which means running it in the background, which can be very handy sometimes for especially development tasks, in which case you don't usually need a GUI to work with. Thank you for watching and take care.